Good morning. It's 9 a.m. Friday, January 23rd, 2025. Welcome to the Good News Live at 9 on Facebook and later available on our YouTube channel. Please comment in the chat so we know you're with us. This is a presentation of the Allen Park Presbyterian Church. Good morning, everyone. I'm Suzan Maxey, and my co-host is Kerri Van. Good morning, Kerri.
Good morning, Suzan. And hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast.
Hey, Kerri, in honor of our annual meeting coming up this Sunday right after the 10 a.m. worship service, how about we tell our viewers some fascinating facts about the Presbyterian Church USA?
Well, Sue, it's kind of early in the morning. It's a Friday, but we're going to do this. We're going to impart our knowledge and things that we have found along the way, right? Because
Yep.
I'm excited to talk about some of the unique aspects about being Presbyterian and what it means. What better time to talk about this, Sue, with the annual meeting coming up on Sunday, right?
Yep. So before I talk about some of the historical roots of the Presbyterian Church, I would like to first ask if our viewers would comment in the chat whether they were born and raised Presbyterian or they chose to be Presbyterian like I did. So if y'all out there, if you would write in the chat.
Just type born
or chose.
Born or chose.
It's not that hard.
I got mine in there. All right.
All right. So the Presbyterian Church USA traces its roots back to the Protestant Reformation, particularly the teachings of John Calvin. Did you know that the first American presbytery was organized in Philadelphia in 1706?
1706, wow.
Time ago, huh? But there were Presbyterians living in the Americas as early as the 1620s. That's really old, when Puritans from England immigrated to New England. Presbyterians continued to arrive in the 17th and 18th centuries, especially from Scotland and Ireland.
Now that part we know, the Scottish and Ireland aspect of it, I think a lot of people realize that. That's quite an impressive history, Sue. I've heard before that Presbyterians adhere to something called conversational tradition. I know I was raised Catholic and we went to confession. Can you explain like what the difference is? Because I know we do not go to confession.
No, we do not. Presbyterians follow a confessional tradition, which means that they had a set of beliefs that are outlined in documents called the Book of Confessions. These confessions or beliefs guide the faith and practice of our church, helping to maintain a consistent theological foundation. So we're all on the same page, in other words.
Right.
The study of the Book of Confessions last year, it was very enlightening. The banners that adorn the sanctuary walls for Reformation Sunday, they're handmade works of art, tapestries that graphically represent each of the confessions that are listed in the Book of Confessions.
Wow, Sue, do we only have those banners out at certain times of the years, or are they in their sanctuary?
They're very fragile.
Mm-hmm.
And they were created with love, but many years ago. So they're usually only put up a couple of times or left up for a little bit, usually Reformation Sunday, because that's the history of our church, whatever. So those tapestries are hung up, and they're huge, and they take up all the walls, and people can look at them and see, oh wow, it's okay.
All right, Sue, let's do a quick look at our survey and see what people have chosen or were born. All right, here we go. Chose, that was me. Born, chose, born, chose. So it's kind of 50-50.
Wow, okay.
Kind of 50-50 so far. So I guess all those new member classes that you've attended over the years have really paid off. Sue, I know we've talked about this before, how many new members classes you've been to. And I know we've both been to them as a new member or because we were on a board and we were there to support the new members and answer any questions. Do you want to move on and talk about some unusual facts?
Sure. I love trivia.
All right. I heard there was a Presbyterian minister who played a significant role in American history. Do you know who that is, correct?
You know who that is. Yep.
Right.
The Reverend John Witherspoon was a Presbyterian minister, and he was the only clergyman to sign the Declaration of Independence. And his involvement highlights the church's influence during the formation of the United States. Of the 56 men who signed the document, 12 were Presbyterians, including Reverend Witherspoon.
Wow, that's interesting.
Some other notable Presbyterians: Presidents Ronald Reagan, Dwight D. Eisenhower, Woodrow Wilson, Benjamin Harrison, Grover Cleveland, James Buchanan, and Andrew Jackson. And some fun facts about those presidents. It was Eisenhower who added the under God to the Pledge of Allegiance. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but we've all said the Pledge of Allegiance many, many times. Did not know that fact. Good one, Sue.
Sure, you did not know this. In fact, it was something I found out about this when I did a little bit of research. Through my maternal grandmother, I'm related to Benjamin Harrison, Presbyterian and the 23rd President of the United States.
Are you serious, Sue? That's
Yeah.
wild.
And of course, I'm related to his grandfather, William Henry Harrison, who was the 9th president, and his great-grandfather, Benjamin Harrison V, a founding father who was one of the 56 who signed the Declaration of Independence.
I
Isn't that cool?
That is very cool. I feel like people need to ask for your autograph.
Oh yes, I'll be taking, I'll be giving autographs later.
All right, very nice. That is wild. So you must have been doing some genealogy research and you must have been pretty shocked to
Yep.
find this out.
I mean, I didn't realize that one of the 56 signers was a great, I don't know how many greats, grandfather of mine. But anyway,
Wow,
we've had
that's
some
cool.
notable writers that were Presbyterian as well. Mark Twain, who was born Samuel Clements, he was raised Presbyterian and maintained his spirituality throughout his life. And then we have Presbyterian actors: James Stewart or Jimmy Stewart, Debbie Reynolds, John Wayne, Roy Rogers, Sheryl Crow, Dick Van Dyke. These are some pretty big names I remember.
These are.
Yeah. Richard Burton, Superman Christopher Reeve, and Shirley Temple Black. They're all known to be Presbyterian, as well as astronauts Sally Ride and Neil Armstrong.
Wow. A lot
And
of
there's
Presbyterians.
these Robin Roberts, she's on TV. She's also Presbyterian, and she credits her faith with helping her fight cancer. And Reverend Fred Rogers, better known as Mr. Rogers, was an ordained Presbyterian minister.
Mr. Rogers was an ordained
Rogers,
Presbyterian minister.
ordained Presbyterian minister. Yes, he was.
Wow, that is a really cool fact. I did not know that either.
Yep.
Wow, lots of Presbyterians.
Yep.
I've also the way the Presbyterian Church is governed has had like an impact on democracy. And of course, we've just gone through an election cycle, so there's been a lot of talk about democracy. Maybe you could explain that a little bit so we could connect the dots.
I can try.
All right.
The Presbyterian Church's governance system, or their polity, emphasizes representative leadership and voting, which are the same democratic principles that shape the U.S. government.
That makes sense.
This system of governments has had a lasting impact on how we understand and practice democracy today. And fun fact, okay, during the American Revolutionary War, it was referred to on the floor of the British Parliament as the Presbyterian Revolt or Rebellion. Those Presbyterians are rocking the boat there, eh?
Yes, I guess so. Wow. Well, we do have a unique, I think we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we do have a unique way of how the Presbyterian Church is run. And I think that's what has drawn a lot of people to it, but we'll see how that works. Do you know what the word Presbyterian actually means? I know I've taken many, many years to learn how to spell it. And
Yeah,
to
no
this
kidding.
to this day, Sue, I did this on the first week at the church. When I type it, even though my fingers kind of know where it's at, I always do Presbyterian. All
Yep,
these years, over 20 years, I've had to do that in my head. So it's kind of a unique word. Do you know what it means?
I do. It comes from the Greek word presbyteros, meaning elder.
And
And
you're an
that
elder? How fitting.
it reflects the important roles of elders in church governance and emphasizes shared leadership and decision making.
Right. And this is, like I said a few minutes ago, or it's really different than the way some churches are governed and how they operate, and which makes Presbyterian Church pretty unique and I think very cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you could explain, since we're going to be voting on new class of elders, deacons, and trustees, a little bit about what it means to be an elder.
Well, for one, once you're ordained an elder, you're always an elder. You're only ordained once. And if you serve another term, you would then be installed. And that's the same thing if you're ordained a deacon, which you're a deacon.
Correct.
And if you're currently serving on the board of elders, which is called the session, then you would be called a ruling elder. And ruling doesn't mean like when we think of kings and queens ruling over their subjects in a
Right.
totalitarian way. There's checks and balances in Presbyterian polity, just like in our U.S. government, which
Right.
is surprising since one inspired the other. So,
Right.
and in case you'd like to know how the hierarchy works, okay, in the PCUSA, there's the church level, so that's what we're on. Then above that is the presbytery level. We happen to belong to the Presbytery of Detroit, which consists of 72 congregations like ours. Then there's the synod level above the presbytery, and ours is called the Synod of the Covenant, which is 11 presbyteries like Detroit that primarily encompasses the states of Michigan and Ohio, with small portions extending into Kentucky, Indiana, and Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
Big area. And then the top level, the very tippy top, is church-wide, which refers to the entire denomination worldwide. And it encompasses all the congregations and the governing bodies. You may have also heard of the General Assembly. It's the highest governing body within the PCUSA, essentially acting as a representative council made up of elected members from across the church. And they make decisions that affect the entire nomination on a wider scale. Essentially, the General Assembly is the church-wide session or decision-making body. I can't spit it out. I think I need a drink.
Right. And then Sue, this is where per capita comes in. People are like, ooh, what's per capita? But per capita is is an amount that every member is asked to pay because we're a nonprofit. Churches are nonprofits, but we
Absolutely.
can't sell pencils or anything, to supplicate our income. So when you
Right.
pay per capita, that hierarchy that Sue just described, it goes to the presbytery, to the synod, to the general assembly. That helps to pay for buildings and salaries and things along that way. I
All
know
those,
right. The per capita, I believe, is 3709
yeah.
this year. And that's what they ask every member to pay because it becomes a part of our budget. The church has to pay it for based on how many members we have. So that's how the per capita supports hierarchy of the church. So it's nothing scary.
Well, it's just,
Just
just like
another, just
just like we
another,
pay taxes to the US government to pay for all of that stuff. We
yeah,
pay
or
for our church denominations.
payment to Netflix to keep the shows coming in, that kind of thing, right?
Yep. Speaking of the General Assembly, a fun fact, the PCUSA General Assembly meets every 2 years, and the first one was held in Philadelphia. Guess when?
Um, 1908? No, because you talked about a way earlier time frame earlier. What?
May of 1789,
Wow.
long time ago. And just to let you know, the PCUSA is the largest Presbyterian denomination in the United States.
Wow. Cool, cool. Fast. Hi Nancy. If you just joined us, you have to tell us if you were born Presbyterian or chose to be Presbyterian. We're doing a poll. So if you just want to give us that comment, Nancy Horvath, we would appreciate it because we're just doing a little poll here. These was some, so Sue, you seem really smart about all this, and I know we've both been, I was wondering, I was wondering why you went to so many new members classes. We had a conversation recently, and you told me that you went many times a year when you were joining and even after you joined. Can you tell us why?
Well, the short answer is I was searching and I found that for which I was looking. So,
That's a good way to describe it. We need to put that on the wall somewhere, right? Make a banner for it.
I was baptized and I joined a church when I was in high school. And it was the denomination most of my family belonged to. But I never really felt like I fit in. And the older I got, the less I felt like it was the way I needed to connect with God. To satisfy my humanities requirement in college, I took a comparative religions class that totally confused me about God and what a relationship with Him was supposed to look like or even could look like. And when I was 23, my dad died after just turning 50 years old. I really spiraled with the whole religion thing after that. To say I was mad at God for a lot of years would be quite an understatement.
And that's very common, Sue. I do grief share, and I hear that an awful lot. It's very common.
Even though I was too angry to look for God, I still looked for a church in which to belong, believe that or not. And it was a long, bumpy journey. That finally ended when Levon King, I'll remember him hopefully,
Yeah.
past mayor of Allen Park. And he asked us to try where he and his wife, Gloria, attended. And we met where we met our church family. And that happens to be APPC. So we first walked through the Park Avenue doors on Palm Sunday, 2002. I remember that because the church I was raised in, we didn't celebrate Palm Sunday like that. Presbyterians had palm leaves and gave them to Deanna, and she's swinging them around, and it's like, okay.
That was a good day to come, right? We don't have those every we don't have those every
She
week.
got into that a lot. So, and then I was acknowledged as a member on Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday is really important to me.
I guess
April
so.
9th, 2003, so a year later. And I had been through two new members classes. And back then they were 6 weeks long, 1 hour every Wednesday night. And I didn't join after the first 6 weeks, because I still had questions.
That does not surprise me. You
Lots
have
of
a very
questions.
that does not surprise me, Sue. You have a very inquiring mind.
Yeah, just ask pastors Kirk, Melody, or Doug. I have an inquiring mind. And I wanted to make sure I knew exactly what was going to be taught to my 7-year-old daughter in Sunday school and at camp and all the youth activities that I wouldn't be at. So I have continued attending new members classes because I hear something new every time, and I get to meet the new people and hear their stories. So on Sunday mornings, I can help make them feel like they're already part of my church family.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's a great reason, and it's always good to keep learning. Learning is important. All right,
Yeah.
Kip and Nancy replied. Um, Kip chose to be Presbyterian, and Nancy was born and baptized at APPC by Wanzer. She said
Wow.
many years ago, but it's all been many years ago for many of us, right?
Yeah.
Oh, right. All right.
Even
So
newbies considered kind of
something,
a newbie.
right. So as you know, I work at the church, and as a new member, you get assigned your own scripture when you join the church.
Yes. that
So
is so cool. That's a tradition I just love. And mine is appropriately Matthew 7:7. And Matthew 7:7 says, let me share this. Can you see it? Nope. There, can you see it?
yes,
Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. How
that is
appropriate is that, eh?
that is really super appropriate for you.
Yep, it sure was. So,
And when did you say you joined in 2003, right?
yep.
Palm
Palm
Sunday.
Sunday,
Right.
which was April 9th that year.
Right. And and as we were talking earlier, you are an elder. And then when did you become an elder? When were you ordained?
I was ordained January 27th, like almost to the day in 2000.
Wow.
So that was a few years ago, like 17, almost to the date. Yeah. And I've served 2 back-to-back terms. So total of 12 years of those 17.
Wow,
So
that's wild.
and then you can serve another 3 years, but then you have to take a break. It's part of the book of order, whatever. You have to take a break for at least a year.
Right.
So I
Which is
felt
the
like, you know, two,
right,
3 years.
which is the checks and balances. Sue,
Right.
let's take a real quick moment to make an announcement. If you want to mark your calendars, we have a lot going on Sunday, but there is time to fit this in. If you have children or grandchildren, if you go to Grosse Ile Presbyterian Church, well, first, worship is at 10, annual
Yep.
meeting is at 11. Then there's a luncheon hosted by the committee we're both on, Enough for All,
Dining
in
room.
the dining room. I'm going to be shopping this afternoon with the cook. So
And later in the
after
afternoon,
right later in the afternoon, you probably have enough time to take a small breather. You can go to Grosse Ile Presbyterian Church at 3 p.m. They're transforming their fellowship hall into a carnival. And what are some information that's hard to read, Sue? Do you have info on that?
the Grosse Ile Quintet and pianist Doug Scott will perform Carnival of the Animals and classical favorites from Bluey episodes. And guess what? The
What?
narration will be done by none other than Carl Grappentine, the voice of the U of M marching band.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty exciting.
Yes.
Right. So kids attending, it's free admission. You will receive books and treats. It's a fun and educational experience for the whole family. And if you get a chance to do that, please support one of our Downriver PC USA churches. We better get back to our programs because we're running out of time.
Well, you know what the best part of the children's concert is, though?
What?
It's free.
Yes, it's free. There's so many costs. So many costs involved when it comes to children. All right, so do we talk about the annual meeting yet, Sue?
I don't know. Did we?
Um, I I don't think we have. Let's shift gears and talk about the annual meeting of the congregation before we run out of time. What makes it so important? People look at it like, but it's actually a very, very cool thing. So
Yes.
let's discuss what it's all about because it's happening this Sunday.
Oh, goodness.
Nancy Horvath said, "Wow, how cool! Always heard him at U of M Stadium. Neat. Yeah, that's going to be a cool thing."
Okay, so the annual meeting is the cornerstone of Presbyterian church governance. It allows members to actively participate in the decision-making process. And did you know that in the Presbyterian church, it's not the pastor who makes decisions? Members of the congregation called elders are actively involved in leading the church alongside the pastor. It's truly a democratic system.
That's correct, Sue, because I'm the moderator of our deacons, and we are overseen by the session, just like every committee of the church. And we've learned a lot about the history and how that came to be. At the annual meeting, members get to hear reports. They get to vote on important matters concerning the church's future if there is a vote, right?
That's right. And you can ask questions. It's your church and your input does matter.
That is correct. So, I mean, it's more than just a meeting too, because it's an opportunity for members to connect with one another and build community. You get to hear about the amazing work that happened in our church, and then we're going to have a meal together afterwards when we can continue the conversation. And there's an annual report. I believe if you aren't going to be able to be at church, which we hope you are, because we need a quorum to have the meeting, you can probably contact the office next week to get a PDF copy emailed to you, right?
Usually that's been the case. Yep.
Yes, I'm sure that's possible. We can make that possible.
If you're there in person, which we hope you will be, there will be some copies available as well.
Right.
Hard
And I heard Pastor Tim say that it will be broadcast live, but you can't vote. So if you
No,
can, it's really important to come to the meeting. Then
because we
afterwards,
have to have a quorum.
we have to have a quorum. And after
There.
right, and then you get to read all the cool reports and hear things that are going on and how last year turned out. And afterwards, the committee we're both on, Enough for All, is hosting the lunch. So we can't wait for you to come and get to that point where we can have a meal together, right?
I think you had a reminder too about the Super Bowl.
Yes. I mean, I'm trying not to think about the Super Bowl because I was so sad after the Detroit Lions were eliminated. But we can still make the Super Bowl if you want to spell it SOUPER, Super Bowl, Sunday important. We are doing a food drive and trying to collect canned soup and canned chili. So if you're out shopping or you want to go on our Amazon wish list, we're going to try to get a big visible pile of these items for our food pantry. So we can still do something important, even if we can't watch our Detroit Lions in the Super SUPER Bowl.
I'm sure there's still people going to watch that Super Bowl.
I'm sure they are. So let's make it count for our community. So we appreciate your support. Did you know our food pantry doesn't even have a budget, Sue? It's been a
I'm
long,
a seat of the pants kind of thing, but
yes, it's never had a budget. And we do a whole lot of good with that food pantry, thanks to you watching.
yeah. So yeah, thanks to all of our viewers for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about the Presbyterian Church USA.
Hopefully
So
we haven't rattled on too much.
yeah,
Um,
babbled.
we do have a question. Ken Woods wanted to know what the quorum is. I wish I knew, Ken, but I
I knew
don't.
that too. It's a certain number, but it's based on how many members we have, but
Yeah, just please try to come if you can.
either of those.
I think the weather's going to be somewhat normal on Sunday, like just a little bit cold and should be fine. Please come if you can. So,
Yeah,
so important.
the
We
deep
have
freeze.
to we have to vote on new slate of officers for the
Right?
session, the deacons, and the trustees, and corporate treasurer. And I haven't read the report yet, but it's important. Please come, and we'll see you at lunch.
Absolutely. So, what scripture were you given when you joined the church?
Ah, let's see. I joined the church in 2005. Wow, my kids were little, and mine was unusual, and I loved it. Esther 4:14. Perhaps you come to just such a time as this. So yeah, I love
Not
that
longer
one.
than that.
Yeah. Well,
Of it. Yeah.
let me see. I can pull it up here really quick. There we go. Yeah, that is definitely the graphic. And here's what it really says. I got it pulled up. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from another place, but you and your father's family will perish. Wow. And who knows, but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this. Isn't that awesome?
Yes.
It was when it was a really like pivotal moment when Esther was encouraged to like use her position to help save people. So I love that. And in case you were wondering, I was ordained in 2016, probably, I'm not sure exactly. I think it was in April of 2016. So cool, 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 cool. Well, Sue, wow, we are like running out of time. And
A few
Kip
facts too.
right. Kip Horbath said, great information. Thanks for sharing. Our viewers are already throwing the hearts up. All right, Sue.
Hearts. I love hearts.
Love
Thanks.
hearts too. Thanks. Our viewers are the best. Lead us out, Sue.
Okay. Well, if you'd like to learn more about the good news of Jesus Christ, please be sure to join Pastor Tim for devotions. He's live at 9:30 a.m. Monday through Thursday on Facebook. And join us Sundays at 10 a.m. for worship. It's live streamed on Facebook and YouTube, or you can come in person in our lovely stained glass adorned sanctuary in Allen Park, Michigan. And remember, this Sunday is our annual meeting. It's right after worship. Then please join us for lunch in the Fellowship Building dining room. And if you would like to be a guest with Kerri and I on a Friday of your choice, visit the church website at allenparkpress.org. Go to the events tab, then the good news tab, and choose your date on the handy dandy sign up form. We are scheduling guests through March. Ta-ta-da! Drum roll, please.
We can't wait to get an evening one. Somebody that can't do it at 9 in the morning, sign up because we want to try this out. We want to go live and surprise everybody at night. Someday you're going to see us pop on like 7 or 8 o'clock at night and be like, wow, what are they doing?
Yeah, we don't know.
All right, we did put a link up in the chat. It seems complicated, but all you got to do is click on it and pick a date. It's not, and then you'll get instructions. So don't let that scare you. We don't care. We like to talk to everyone.
And we hope you'll all join us for the next Good News Live at 9. And until then, remember, you are a beloved child of God, and God loves you. And so do we. Let us show it.
Have a great day, everyone, and stay warm. We'll see you on Sunday.
Bye. See you next
Bye.
Friday. Wonderful week.